Hello and welcome to the Perry Connection. I'm your host, Jessie Barth. And as you can see in the studio, we are going to enjoy some culinary delights. And actually, they are being brought to us by Gary and Betty Burley of East Hill Creamery. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for bringing all of this.
Oh, you're welcome.
What all do we have here?
Go ahead.
What's this, Betty?
Well, this is a raclette melting machine.
Okay.
You simply slice the cheese and put it on these small paddles.
Oh, okay.
And then it melts, and you can grill bread or tomatoes or whatever you like on the top. And then you take the cheese out, and you pour it over the bread and eat it. And
Oh,
enjoy.
really?
It's pretty tasty.
Sounds delicious. Where would one buy this cast iron font?
Oh, you can buy them online, or we actually bought this one at the Premier Gourmet store in Buffalo.
Okay, good. And Gary, what are you doing here with this
We're
beautiful block of cheese?
Melding half a wheel of underpass onto a slice of bread and tomato.
Doesn't that look delicious? I bet you make awesome mac and cheese.
We do.
Yeah. Good. And I should say that your cheese is called Underpass. You have one variety named Underpass.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Good.
So this is a French raclette style. So the raclette means it's a melting cheese.
Oh, okay.
And so the shepherds and herders of France of years ago would follow the herds in the mountains in the summertime, and they would carry this cheese. But, you know, they couldn't carry a lot because everything was on foot. So they would carry this cheese and some bread, and this would be their meal for the day or for the week. It's very nutritious.
Yes, it's filling.
Mm-hmm.
So you just keep...
Yep, and also it's an entertainment. So if you have a couple come over and here we're not cooperating. If you have a couple come over and you just want to spend a couple hours eating, this is a great way to do it.
And what is this melting machine
So
called?
this is a hot iron, and you can't see it, but it's red right now, and it's melting the face of this cheese, and it gets pretty warm. So it's quite slow. You don't want to be wanting to eat in a hurry and run. It's to enjoy with a bottle of wine, and
Which you very kindly contributed to the show. What is this? Deer Run Winery. It's a Riesling from 2015.
Yep.
Good. And that's a local winery?
Yes,
the Deer
it is.
Run?
It's over by Canisius Lake.
Canisius Lake. Good. Well, you know, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show is because you're local. And how exciting to have our own cheese factory. What are you called? Cheese?
It's East Hill Creamery.
So we say yes. Creamery is that's a much better term. But you actually make all the cheese in your creamery.
Yes, the cheese, the milk that we use, of course, to make the cheese comes right off our dairy. We have a designated herd that we milk that goes into a special tank, and then we load it onto a truck in the morning, and within an hour of the milking, we load the milk and deliver it to the plant, and it goes directly into the vat, and then it starts, we go start the process of making the cheese, and we have two vats because we make two types of cheese.
Right. And maybe this would be a good time. You have the Silver Lake cheese with this beautiful logo. And then you also have, there you are with your logo, and here you have the Underpass,
Yes.
which I purchased this morning myself to prep for the show at the Perry Marketplace, and it is delicious.
Well, thank you.
It's delicious.
So I'm going to cut this so you can eat it in front of the camera and watch
I
your
think this is a
expression.
first.
I hope you don't mind the fingers.
I don't mind the fingers at all. I just appreciate the
But you
experience.
can, it's going to be kind of messy,
Okay.
but this is kind of the fun of doing it.
I feel like a little like Julia Childs
Take this
here.
piece here.
Yes.
Take this piece right here. Okay.
There.
That's really good.
You can have, you go ahead and take it.
I'm going to take this.
So I'll melt some more on the bread here. So we have another way with the paddles. This is kind of overcooked. We're sorry, because we're kind of doing too many things at once. But you can see you heat up the bread, or you can heat meats or vegetables, and then have your bread, and then just take the pan and put it on your bread.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it seems very continental to me.
Yes.
You know, very Swiss, France, Switzerland, France.
So we traveled to France a number of times when we were setting up our plant, and there's restaurants set up over there to do this sort of thing, and that's kind of how we got the idea. It's a big deal for a young couple or any couple of any age to go to a restaurant and have a setup like this with a wheel and order.
Is that at the table?
Mm-hmm. They bring it right to the table,
really?
and you get to melt this at the table and enjoy it with maybe a party of 2 or 4 or 6 or 8.
And so do they bring in a block like this, or is it generally a smaller?
No, they bring a half wheel in just like this.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Yeah, and you get to, sorry.
Okay, oh, that's all right.
So,
And so then what do you do? Do you get to take it home if you don't eat it all, or do they?
they didn't offer it to us. So.
In the States, you'd probably get to take it home.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to return
What
it.
would it cost? What would something like this cost? This kind of experience in a
It would
restaurant?
be- there's a lot of cheese there, so I mean, between the condiments and I got to think about this a minute. I would say, well, I got to consider, because a restaurant's going to have upcharge. I would say half a wheel alone would be in the $140 range.
Oh, okay.
It's high-end cheese, but this would feed a family for
A long
it
time.
would. It seems like a lot of money, but
Well,
there's a lot of food there.
Well, I was just going to say, being a foodie is sort of a new trendy thing, where
Yes.
people really do care about the quality of food that they're eating, and certainly are buying local.
Yep.
And so it seems to me that your timing is really good.
Well, we hope it is.
Oh yeah, I hope so too. Please, would you enjoy it yourself?
Okay.
Would you like some wine? Can I pour you some
Sure.
wine? I think first thing we'll pour some wine for our audience. So for those of you watching, there you go. You get the very first one. Isn't it an amazing world? You can go to France. You can learn about cheese making there. With computers and cell phones and
Yes.
what have you, you're connected everywhere, aren't you?
Yes, and you
You
can
know?
just Google it up and read about anything you want, which
Oh,
when
yeah.
we started farming in 1981, and probably 20 years into that, you couldn't do that. You had to read it on a paper or a magazine.
Have some wine.
Thank you.
Now, I want to know all about you, and I want to know your plans. Are you thinking at all of a restaurant here, or a store at the creamery? Here's a cloth for you. What are your dreams? Well, such a good product. What
Well,
are you thinking?
plus, besides our first floor, which is the make area and the store, which is soon to open, on the second story we have 3 areas that we haven't opened to the public yet. And so the first area, coming out of the store, there's a stairway and an elevator which will go up into a museum area.
Oh, a museum. And what is in the museum?
Well, back in 1900, there was about 60 creameries in the county, Wyoming County.
Really?
And
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. So there's a lot of old pictures of horse and buggies and cans of milk. People, waiting in their going to town attire, waiting to unload their cans into either a cheese plant or cottage cheese or butter, and I find it fascinating that that technology was available because it was brought over with the European immigrants and that knowledge of making cheese, and so they had all this milk available because quite a bit of the land in Wyoming County wasn't suitable to grow crops as far as corn and soybeans, which really wasn't very common then. So, but it was good grass growing area, and the land was very what I would say looked like home to them, because Betty's ancestry comes from Alsace-Lorraine.
Oh, really? Okay.
And we've been in that area, and it has a real similar role to it, and it's...
Is it as beautiful as Wyoming County?
Yeah.
So people thought of it, it reminding them of home, so they settled here because of neighbors and I'm sure family came here first. And so they did what they knew. They milked a few cows, and they made cheese, and so they didn't have refrigeration then, so they, would form the milk into a product that they could ship, and it would keep. And so they would make cheese and either put it on a train or probably put it in a horse and wagon to the cities.
And when did your relatives come?
Oh, late 1800s.
1800s. Okay. Good. Yeah, isn't that amazing? Of course, you would think, and this being such a dairy county, that there would be creameries. But as someone who's lived here relatively a short time, I never thought about a history of creameries. So you've got lots of interesting pictures.
Yeah, we're looking for sources at this point.
Oh, good.
We'll
so anyone watching,
right.
Certainly.
either on our the show or on your website, watching this program, if you have anything, this is a great place for it to be shown.
Absolutely.
Good. So that's the second floor.
That's the first area of the second floor.
Okay.
Then on the upper deck, there's going to be, we have a kitchen too, where we'll have cheese tastings and pairings.
Great.
And try to educate the locals or whoever wants to on the different types of cheeses and the different quality of cheeses and what to pair it with, the different types of wines and beers and chocolates and honeys and all those things, a demonstration like this. And just have maybe a couple or a foursome would come and just have a good time for the evening.
So it's like a party, a place where you book. Will you have multiple groups, or do you rent it out yourself?
No, I think we will. It'll be an education process for them.
Oh, that's wonderful. I can just see lots of children from schools coming.
Yes.
Well, first of all, let's drink to your success.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To East Hill Creamery. And to you. Delicious. So, now I want, yes, thanks. It is getting a little hot.
It is.
Thanks, Gary.
You're welcome.
Now I want to know about your story. So your relatives, Betty, came from Alsace-Lorraine.
Yes.
In the 1800s. So did you grow up locally?
I grew up in the town of Sheldon over on the western edge of the county.
Okay,
Yep.
right. And
My-
I'm sorry, go
My
ahead.
grandfather and my father both milked cows.
Okay, so you've been graciously prepared for what you're doing now.
Yes, but on a smaller scale than we are now.
Good, and how about you?
Well, I have a different story. My folks did not farm per se, so I'm kind of the first generation farmer. Wow. So my mother taught school in Warsaw, and Dad sold real estate. And before that, my mother's father broke horses in Rochester because his father used to travel out west and buy wild horses, unbroke horses, bring them back on the train to Rochester, and he would break them and use a horse broker. So.
Wow, that sounds very romantic.
Yeah.
So when you said that you're first generation, wow, you don't hear about that. And could a person do that now with the cost of the land? I mean, it seems to me that you both started at the right time.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Probably, yeah. I guess my philosophy is that there's never really a right time, but you have to find the right recipe and the right angle. And I think it still could be done, but probably not conventionally that you would see or be taught, at the land-grant universities.
So when did you decide that you wanted to become a farmer?
Well, I graduated high school in '76 and went into the service. I was an academic material, and my mother certainly wanted me to go to school. So anyways, I opted to serve, and it was a good second to satisfy my mother. And I have a history of my uncles and father being in the service. And I wanted to get out of it and see the world and get out of Warsaw. So I spent 4 years in the Army. And
where did you go?
Oh, I spent Kansas and Missouri and Korea. I was in Korea for a year.
Really? Okay.
In 1979. So anyway, so I had a lot of time to think about it and really figure out what I wanted to do when I got out. And I was able to save, some money while I was in. And so between Betty and myself, we acquired enough money and found a rundown farm and were able to make a down payment.
On East Hill?
On East Hill, yep, and we assumed the mortgage.
Good. Now, when did Betty come into the picture?
In '78, my mother was diagnosed with cancer, so I got a compassionate reassignment to be in Buffalo for a year and a half at the entrance and examination station. So I obviously lived home and drove back and forth to Buffalo, and so we met in Batavia through friends, common friends.
And the fact that she had grown up on a farm and that was in her family.
Yeah, put it over the top.
In addition to her many charms. Yeah, and so I'm sure that gave you the confidence, too, to say, let's do this. And I can tell, Gary, you have an entrepreneurial sense about you.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I'm not.
You're not afraid to take a risk and.
Right. I'm not. I'm outside the box. I'm very unconventional as far as doing things. I'm usually step back and probably observe to find the best way to do things or the way to things that fit my category and run with it. We make a lot of mistakes along the way, but.
Well, it's interesting talking about mistakes. Are they really mistakes, or they're just this is not the way to go? You know what I mean? It's sort of, you know what I mean? They bring you back, like, okay, we've tried that. That's not going to work. We'll just go back. So that I think an entrepreneur has to be able to view mistakes as just, well, this is the way. There's a better way. Mm-hmm. So, what were some of the mistakes? Do you mind if I grill? I don't want to get too personal, and we can just go right over that. But I mean, like, you had 18 cows when you started, correct, on your farm. Was it like, oh my gosh, we need 50, or 18 were too many, or how did you get your 18 cows?
Well, when I was in the service, Dad had a few beef cows, and he offered to raise some young replacement dairy heifers for me. And so I had income, so I could send him home the board and the value of the animals to buy. And he assembled a small line of farm machinery. So when I got home, he and I tried to farm together for a short period of time, and I could soon see this was not going to work. So,
are you too much alike or too different?
I think two different, two different objectives. Mm-hmm. And this small farm came up for sale, or within a few miles of where we were farming. So, and I was all accepted to go to Cobleskill College coming out of the service. Oh. And it just kind of all fell into place within a few weeks of buying this farm and not going off to college, and it was a rundown farm, so it was a lot of sweat equity involved fixing up the house so it was livable, and the barn so we could put a herd of cows in, and
And how about you, Betty? Are you good with a hammer? Were
Oh,
you helping?
not at all. Not at all.
All right.
No.
But
So-
she was an income source because she had
Okay.
a good paying job.
Oh, okay, good.
So-
And what were you doing?
I was actually secretary to the Wyoming County judge. I worked at the courthouse in Warsaw.
Oh, okay, good. Well, that's really great. When an entrepreneur, it's great to have someone with a steady income.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
fund our great ideas.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. So, okay, so when were you married?
1981.
81, okay. And then fast forward, you have how many children?
We have 5 children, 2 girls and 3 boys.
Okay,
So the oldest and the youngest are girls.
all right.
So
And so the 3 boys in the middle. I bet that was so much fun growing up on a farm.
I think it was for them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My uncle worked on a farm in Stowe, Vermont. And so as a child, we used to go up to Stowe a couple weeks every summer. And some of my earliest, happiest memories were just walking out in the pastures with my cousins. And we would bring in the cows
Okay.
in the evening. And they actually walked under Route 100.
Oh.
Okay.
And an underpass. So I always felt affection for your underpass, and I didn't even really know it was you. So
Yeah.
yeah, well, it was just it's great. So okay, so you had 5 kids having fun growing up on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
How many of them are still involved with the farm?
4.
4.
Yes. 2 of the girls and 2 of the boys are.
Really?
Yep.
Now, so they work on the farm. They milk. And are they helping with the cheese or the business end of it? What
Well,
are they
we have
doing?
2 farms. We have one in Warsaw, and we also have one in Dansville.
Oh.
So our oldest daughter and our youngest son run the farm in Dansville for us.
Oh, I see.
And
Okay.
then the middle son and the youngest daughter work at Warsaw.
Oh, good. And what are their names?
Holly and Kyle are the ones in Dansville,
Okay.
and Ryan and Diana are at home in Warsaw.
Okay. And then you have another.
Then our oldest
Son.
son, Rollin, is in the U.S. Army,
Oh, okay.
and he's presently in Afghanistan flying Black Hawk helicopters.
Wow. Bless his heart. Bless his heart.
So
I know.
He's been in 12 and a half years. So
Oh,
he's gonna
okay.
make
So
a
he's
career of it.
career. My husband was a helicopter pilot in
Really?
Vietnam
Okay.
during the war, combat helicopter pilot. So I've shared some of those experiences with
Yeah.
him. So, well, we appreciate your son's service, and
Oh,
Thank you.
we
absolutely.
know he will be safe and come home. And do you think he'll get involved with the cheese, the creamery?
It's pretty early to tell.
Yeah.
He has a good-sized family for nowadays. They live in Kansas in Fort Riley,
Okay.
and he has 3 children from the age 6 down,
Oh, okay.
and another one on the way this month.
Oh, congratulations.
So while he's away, mother will be very busy
Yeah.
without him around.
Yes.
So
Oh, bless her heart. Well, it'll all work out.
it will.
So how many grandchildren do you have?
We have 6 and 2 on the way.
6 and 2 on the way. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so now I wanted to talk about the idea of the creamery. When did you go, oh my gosh, we've got 4 kids working on the family business. Now let's have a creamery. How did that develop?
About 4.5 years ago now, we've always had value added in the back of our mind. I think every farmer does to a certain extent, and it just depends if you act on it or not. But Betty saw a blurb in the local extension news that they were having a cheese making course down near Binghamton, New York. And of course,
And you've always been interested in that.
yeah, it's kind
Yeah.
of fun. Cheese is an interesting process. I always find it to be quite interesting.
Yeah.
And of course, our children were coming back to the farm, and I was getting pretty bored because they were actually taking over the management part of it. And so I was into it and into her idea, and so we went down and made cheese together at this little small creamery.
So did you come up with your own recipes then?
Oh no.
Like, how does one come up with this? You know, you assume there's a recipe. You know, you put this much and that much and put it all together, and you age it for 60 days or whatever.
Well, there's quite a long stories to it, and I hope you have some. Give me a few minutes, and I'll give you some background. It'll help you a little bit.
Okay.
So we were 2 years, so 4.5 years we started this quest, and we were looking at the types of cheese you're going to make. It's probably very important if you're going to make cheese, and you know the equipment, and you know how big your scale is going to be. So 2 years into this, so 2.5 years ago, we went to American Cheese Society conference, and we were sitting in Madison, Wisconsin, and there's a couple from France where we were tasting Comté cheese, which is a very close cousin to Silver Lake. And they were cutting the cheese, and we tasted it, and we looked at each other, and we said, this is the one. Because our cows are grass-fed, and of course Comté cheese they talk a lot about the terroir of the milk and the cheese coming from the Alps of France. So that started on our quest of how to make and what to make.
And may I just throw in something too?
You may.
Well, you know, they used to have commercials, and they talk about milk from contented cows. And I would have to say your cows must be very happy.
Oh,
because they're outside in the pasture. Right. You get to walk under the underpass. You know what I mean? I mean, it's sort of like the old days when you'd see the cows being pastured. So I'm sure that adds to the flavor of the cheese too.
Yeah. I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
So anyways, you know, then you start gathering information about these types of cheeses, and we were visiting as many small cheese plants as we could to get ideas.
Are there a lot in Western New York? No, okay.
There's hardly
That's good for business.
Yes. So, anyways, we ran into a lady in Alabama that makes great cheese, and Sweet Home Farms, and we were telling her our quest for what we wanted to do, and she said that she knew this Frenchman that she thought would be willing to help us. So she emailed us the address, and of course we shot him off an email, probably thinking that nothing will ever happen. Well, sure enough, he calls us. And,
nice. And he speaks English?
He speaks very good English.
Good.
And so after probably an hour and a half of talk and thinking about it, we decided that here we go. This is what we're going to do.
Isn't it fun to do it together?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So he set up a couple cheese plants in Vermont. So this wasn't his first what's the word I want, but rodeo, I would say. And so pretty soon, you know, we're going to France and visiting him and going through the different. There's a couple schools over there that are very extensive cheese making, and to equipment because we needed cheese making equipment, and
it's quite an investment, financial investment.
It was huge.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so we liked them, and I would say we drank the Kool-Aid, and came home and started making financial plans of what to build. Basically, our first floor of our plant is his design.
Oh, good.
It includes, of course, the make area, the brining room, and the aging caves. They're very traditional caves, cement and covered with dirt or earth. And so, one of our major goals or main goals of this was to have the first piece of cheese be as good as the last. And
sounds like a great slogan.
Yeah. And so this wheel here was only probably made 7 days after our first make. And so you can tell me how it tastes.
It's delicious. I'm after the show, I'm going to eat this all up. Was it 60 days? How long does it have to age?
Well, see, we sell raw milk cheese, and by New York State Ag and Markets, there's a law on the books that says any raw milk cheese has to age a minimum of 60 days in order to sell. Okay. And that's for safety, health reasons.
Yeah, sure.
So.
Good.
Yeah. So.
Well, okay, we're going to have to wrap it up. I hate to do that, but One of the questions I want to ask you is, first of all, you have a very nice website.
Okay.
And so if someone would want to find you online, it's easthillcreamery.com.
Yes.
Correct. Okay, so you can do that. And you're located on Main Street in Perry. Is it? Okay, is that your address, Main Street in Perry?
Yes.
346 Main Street South.
Okay, great. When will it actually be officially opening, and when can we plan our parties there?
We hope to have our store open by the end of the month if we
By the end of
finish.
October
End of October.
2016. Okay, great.
We get our floor tiled and the trim around the windows. And then the real party room, or the tasting room we hope to have open next summer.
Oh, good.
We're
Okay.
the contractors are going to be working on it all winter when the weather's not so good, and get it finished up.
Good. Now, my last question, what can we as a community do to help you?
I think Perry, we look at to be very supportive of our endeavor, and from the mayor to the board members of the village board to a lot of the people in the community that are always upbeat. You know, some days it's a real trial to get something like this of this scale going.
And
we need
I must
that
say,
encouragement.
it's a large scale. Hopefully, we can have some photographs that the audience can see. But it's a big production, big facility.
And then, of course, they talk to their siblings or their friends or their relatives somewhere about the cheese, and it may be in Ithaca or Buffalo or Rochester, and pretty soon they buy it and they tell somebody about an experience
And so,
like this.
you can purchase it online? Is that right? Will you be able to?
No, we're not.
Okay.
We opted not to go that route.
Okay, so they will have to come, either have distributors,
Exactly.
which you do. I know you have distributors in Geneseo and Buffalo and all around. Wegmans? Do you have Wegmans?
We're communicating with Wegmans.
Good. I hope that they will do the right thing.
Me too.
I'm sure they will. Okay, so we can just support you and spread the word,
Absolutely.
and just really celebrate your good sense, your entrepreneurial sense,
Oh, thank you.
and thank you for blessing Perry with your factory or creamery, I should say. Forgive me.
Okay.
Was there any other place, or you just knew it had to be Perry?
Well, we came to town because we needed the water and the sewer, and we needed. Not every rural community is accepting of that, so we had 3 invites to come to see what Perry had to offer.
Oh, good.
And
Good
within
for Perry.
15 minutes of talking with the mayor and
And that's Rick Hauser.
Rick Hauser
Rick Hauser.
and Ed Kozel. He was he looked, because we have a wastewater requirements because of our discharge, and he said, we can do this. And so, it's that kind of go get 'em attitude that makes things
That's
happen.
great. That's
So,
great.
yeah.
Well, you certainly make things happen. We've never had a spread like this on the Perry Connection in the last 10 years that it's been on the air. So let's once again cheers and just great success to you.
Thank you.
And to Perry as well. A good call having you come here, and bon appetit and buy the cheese from East Hill Creamery. And thank you for joining us.
Welcome.